Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Premier Sim Gaming League YouTube channel. It is the turn of the PS4 F7 League to take centre stage here for round 11 at the Yas Marina circuit for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. My name is Jake, and I hope you're all having a great day. And with just 19 points separating the top 5 in the championship coming into this round, we have an absolutely critical race here in statistically the most wide open title fight in season 27 of PSGL. Should be a very exciting one. Before we get stuck into tonight's action, let's have a quick look back at last week's race around Mexico, as Bryn placed himself firmly in championship contention by taking a third win in 4 races. To show he really is the foreman of F7 right now. And it was an actually incredible drive from Free Gloves, who pulled off an audacious one-stop strategy, along with avoiding any corner-cutting penalties, to claim a remarkable second place, beating Felix, whose 12 seconds of penalties dropped him to third, while Morgan did some good damage limitation by taking 4th, along with the point for the fastest lap. That means coming into this round, the championship is as follows. We've got Morgan still in the lead of the championship on 83 points. We've got Felix just 2 points behind on 81. Bryn is now up to 3rd on 71 points, 12 points adrift. With Free Gloves in 4th on 68 points, and last season's F7 champion TNR John is slipping to 5th on 64 after he wasn't here last week. That means statistically coming into this, we have 5 drivers who can still win the championship. And due to how close it is between the top 2 at the very least, it's highly unlikely that it will be decided tonight. But what is for sure is that we could definitely potentially have rid of a couple of contenders if they have bad races this evening, particularly those from Bryn down to Jonas, who are a little bit adrift and need, if anything, to really beat the top 2 in the championship now to keep their hopes alive. So first driver out on a lap is Marcus, so we'll follow him round in the Mercedes. Had a few adventures already on his out lap, so interesting to see how this lap goes. Just quickly as well, in terms of the Constructors' Championship, the battle there is very close too. Just 2 points separate Ferrari and Red Bull at the top of the Constructors, with the battle very much looking like it's going to be between those two. And I have to say, looking at it in recent races at the very least, it is Red Bull who are currently still second place with that 2-point deficit, who look like the form team and could very well overtake Ferrari if things carry on as there are. The one thing, I think the one driver who really holds a key into how that battle unfolds is TB Sen, who at times has struggled to back up his Ferrari teammates Morgan's pace. Tim Matz as well, after a really good start to the season, could do with a good result as well. Let's give you a little background about the venue for tonight's battle. The Yas Marina circuit was opened in 2009 and has played host to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix ever since. It's also one of a few counter-clockwise tracks that F1 currently races at, with 13 left turns and 8 right turns making up this 21-turn, 3.45 mile circuit. The lap record was set by Lewis Hamilton in 2019 on a 1:39.2. Marcus is already going to comfortably go underneath that time. And although this venue has not produced too many classics in real life, I expect this to be very different in F7, particularly with the title, both titles being very much still up for grabs. Expect it to be super close as Jonas invalidates his opening lap of qualifying. Let's follow Morgan, the championship leader, around his first lap of qualifying then. He's now heading through a very technical complex of turns 5 and 6 before into this hairpin at turn 7, leading him on to this first of 2 long DRS straights, which are definitely the best spots in which to catch some overtaking. Free Gloves has already gone to the top of the timesheets on a 33.5. As Morgan now brakes for the chicanes at turn 8 and 9. And again, the exit from turn 9, all too critical, leading you back onto this second straight. Keep the car to the left to minimise the time lost down this straight and then bring the car over to the right hand side, but are braking into turn 11 and 12 through 13 now. Very quick complex of corners, and 14 as well, all leading one directly into the next. And then now it's through turns 15, 16 and braking hard for turn 17. Through this complex of corners now, turn 18. Watch out for the outside wall on turn 19, it can catch you out on occasion. And now the penultimate turn, turn 20. And then flick it into the final corner, turn 21. Game Freaker has gone quickest, but Morgan has quickly dispatched the that lap time on a 32.8. He now takes provisional pole position. Let's follow Tim Matz round. He's on a lap at the moment as well. He won't particularly enjoy seeing that Ferrari up in first, with the Constructors' battle being very much at the forefront of his mind. He goes up to fourth for now, with his opening lap over a second off the pace of Morgan at the moment. We've also got Ugi Azim, who missed last week's race but is back tonight. It's good to have a nice healthy grid for this penultimate race. And Ugi, with his opening lap time, is going to pop it into third place. Nice effort from Ugi, just very close indeed to the lap time set by Game Freak. And what's Dimsky going to do across the line? He now goes up to second on a 33.2. And of course, for the likes of Bryn, Free Gloves and Jonas, who are slightly adrift in the championship at the moment, they'll be hoping that some drivers can put themselves between themselves and Morgan and Felix in order to try and gain as many points on your top two as possible here, to give themselves the best chance in Japan. Of course, the one driver who's very much up against it in terms of the championship is TNR Jonas, currently 5th in the championship, a reigning champion from last season. He hasn't had the sort of season he would have hoped for, missed last week's race as well, which really cost him. He dropped from 3rd to 5th after last week's race, and he really needs probably to win here, I would suggest, to keep his title hopes alive. Otherwise we will be crowning a new champion in season 27 of F7. Got a few drivers on outlaps. I'm going to go on board with Felix. Of course, Felix missed a couple of races pretty recently. Came back for Mexico to score yet another podium. Could have been second place for Felix in Mexico, but he collected a lot of corner cutting penalties. He'll be keen to avoid the same here if he wants to secure a good result. I think Felix will be the first person to admit that Morgan probably has the edge on outright pace over him, but it's been Felix's consistency that has seen him where he is in the championship. Out of all the races he's attended, he's only had one race off the podium, which was a surprising 10th place in Russia. But other than that, he's had 6 podiums this season, 7 podiums this season rather, which is an incredible feat and has put him very much, if it weren't for those 2 races he would have missed, he potentially could have this championship close to being wrapped up, but that has very much swung it back wide open, particularly for the likes of Morgan and even Bryn, who was, like I said, has won the last 4 races and is looking pretty menacing at the moment, sitting in 3rd in the championship. As for Felix then, round turn 7 is hairpin crucial. When you go into a straight, want to get as good of exit as possible, don't screw off any speed. And now the first of 2 straights, of course. The straight has that weird feature where it essentially loses a lane halfway down the straight. It's quite an unusual thing when it first was introduced to the calendar. Now it's kind of, you don't really notice it almost. And now coming down the next straight towards turn 11, Felix invalidated his first effort, so this will be his first proper lap time of qualifying so far. Be careful not to invalidate your corner through over some of these curbs. It can be very easy just to be a little bit greedy when you turn in and take too much curb and invalidate your lap time. And now through turns 18 and 19, Bryn has gone on to provisional pole position, continuing his recent stunning form edges out Morgan by a tenth of a second. Felix round the final corner now. This has looked a bit of a tentative lap, I have to say, and it's only gone good enough for 8th. He's not even at the moment the highest placed Williams driver, with Paco Suarez doing the best lap time I've seen from him for a long time, popping it up into 6th place on a 33.4. Game Freaker, interestingly, has now gone out there on a set of medium tyres, so not quite too sure what that's all about, but I guess we will find out. Howdy did his opening lap time on mediums, hence the 1:35. Just followed Jonas then round through the middle sector of the lap. Right now, the main championship contenders, you've got Brennan Morgan on the front row, and then you've got Three Gloves and Felix on the 4th row of the grid. So quite a split there at the moment, and it's not really one that Felix can afford to give up to Morgan. Where will Jonas fit in with this lap time? Got a bit of traffic up ahead through turn 19, but Ugi Azim keeps nicely out of the way, and now turning it into turn 20, using as much of the road as possible. TNR Jonas around the final corner. What's this going to do for him? It puts him onto provisional pole position, and that really throws the cat amongst the pigeons, because the outsider for a championship has popped it onto provisional pole position right now. So that's a good effort from Jonas. It's all super close at that section of the grid, and Morgan is just starting another lap. Three Gloves is about to go on board with him. He's just had a massive moment. I wonder if that's put paid to his lap. I'll follow him round just to see if he improves. He's currently in 8th place. That oversteer moment won't have helped. He does improve by 1 place and does exactly the same time as Ugi, but he goes 7th. I think there's been... So the two Williams are now together. Three Gloves has put another car between himself and Felix, but there's definitely more time to begin on the Alfa Romeo driver, because sideways motion is not forwards motion, so that definitely wouldn't be the quickest way around that corner. Hello McCrew, hello Matt, welcome to the broadcast for tonight's race. A crucial race, as I said, 5 championship contenders coming into this one. It's likely that we probably won't have 5 by the time this race finishes and we go to Japan next week. For TB Sen, who is on a personal best lap. Tim Matz was eager for me to point out that we have very much got a constructors battle brewing as well, with just 2 points separating Ferrari and Red Bull. So it's important here to see what TB Sen does, because as good as Morgan is, he will need some help from his Ferrari teammate, and you can see TB Sen battling with the rear end of the car through this sector, running it very close to the wall on the exit of 19. Now through 20 again, he's using all the track to try and extract as much performance as possible. I tell you what, he's wrestled that car through the final sector, and it's only good enough, unfortunately, for 11th, but it does put him ahead of Tim Matz. So it does have some significance as Morgan pops it back onto provisional pole position on a 32.5. So Morgan's put a couple of attempts between him and Jonas right now. Tom AJ is the only driver yet to put in a lap time. Powdy did do a lap on soft tyres, so he's gone up to 10th. Ugi Azim, I believe, has improved slightly to go 4th. Tom AJ looks like he's backing off his lap. But is he going to go for another lap? That'd be quite interesting, doing a second lap on the soft tyre. I mean, he's going to cross the line, so he will have a time on the board. Bando Biz is not going to do a lap in qualifying, unfortunately for him. So we've got Marcus on a lap, just over 3.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session, and still very much all to play for. Marcus probably hasn't timed his run out too well. This might very well be his last effort in qualifying, unless he can rush back to the pits in record time. Either that or he invalidates his lap and comes into the pits. We'll see now, threading his way through his final part of the lap. Is he going to come in the pits, or is he going to do this lap time? He's not coming in the pits, so this could very well be it for Marcus in qualifying, and it's only good enough for 13th. Moves him above Krenz, but that's kind of it. Followed Dimsky round on his lap in the other Mercedes. He's the first one to start their final hot laps. We've also got Game Freaker out there. Tom AJ was going that slowly across the line. He will not be on a lap. The other thing that does for Tom AJ, of course, it gets him ahead of Bando Biz and the AlphaTauri, so it does have some importance for him in that respect. Got Tim Matz out there on an out lap now as well. A lot of drivers want him to leave it to the last possible minute in order to have the best track conditions when they start their lap. Dimsky, a small lock up there through turns 8 and 9, and through his kink at turn 10, which I've got to be honest, I don't really see it as a corner, but each to their own, of course. Dimsky is on a better lap, but we're talking fine margins here. He's going to need to find a mega final sector if he's going to go any higher than 4th here. There's a little bit of a gap that's developed, as you can see there. The top 3 got half a second in hand over the next group of cars so far. Felix and Free Gloves will know that they cannot afford to be that far behind. Morgan's pole position lap time. Jonas is done for the session. I don't know if he's retired in the pit lane or what. Dimsky goes across the line and does find a bit of time in that final sector, and goes up to 4th on a 32.8. That was a really nice final sector, actually. So nicely done there. And that'll be his qualifying session over. Game Freaker is the next to start his lap, currently in P6. Good effort from Game Freaker, and looks like he's gained some confidence long last. Hasn't had the best of seasons, but starts to show signs of the old Game Freaker of late. And this qualifying's another good performance from him. Be interesting to see, just make sure everyone crosses the line in time. Still got 35 seconds left to begin your final hot laps. Hopefully for everyone they've timed it right. Got Felix on his final lap. Morgan and Bryn are still on their out laps. Bryn has now started. Is anyone going to miss the checkered flag? Looking at it, I think they should just both be okay. It looks like the 2 Ferraris, the last one's out there, and it looks like they've timed it pretty much spot on. So well done to everyone there. Very easy to get that wrong, but with 6 seconds to go, they've all made it across the line, and will have one final effort to try and grab pole position. Game Freaker now through this final sector. This really is where the time can be won and lost. We saw that on Dimsky's last lap. He really hooked up this final part of the lap. Through turn 20, missed the apex ever so slightly. Did Game Freaker, but it looks fairly smooth, it has to be said. Game Freaker across the line, goes up to 5th, moves above Oogie, but is that going to be enough for him? Tim Matz has backed off his lap, so he's not going to be going any quicker. Felix is in the final part of a lap, and this is a crucial lap for the championship contender. He needs to find more time. He cannot afford to start that far behind his main championship rival, who as it stands is currently on provisional pole position. Felix is up 3 tenths at the moment. Can he find any more time in his final sector? When I saw his last lap, it was very cautious. That certainly wasn't. He's definitely giving it more now, Felix. He knows this lap is super important. Free Gloves goes up to 5th. Felix is only good enough for P8. That's not what he needed. Bryn across the line, moves up to 2nd, but can't rob Morgan of pole position. But does go ahead of Jonas, so Bryn onto the front row, but Morgan looks fairly unstoppable here. And he's going to go across the line to extend his margin at the top to 4 tenths of a second. TV Sen has invalidated his lap, and I don't believe anyone else is out there now. So Morgan is your pole sitter. He did enough on his previous lap anyway, but managed to find 2 tenths of a second to take pole position by 4 tenths over Bryn, and that's a very big margin in this tier to get pole position by, and that's going to suggest that Morgan's going to be very tough to beat this race. Our championship leader has set down his stall in qualifying. Bryn is in second. Jonis takes third. He's going to need a huge race for his hopes. Free Gloves, I think, put it in fifth in the end, which is a good effort from Free Gloves. Not usually the best in qualifying. Usually he's much more effective in the races with his strategy. So to be that far up in qualifying is good news for Free Gloves. Dimsky put it in fourth. Got Free Gloves in fifth. Game Freaker sixth. Oogie seventh. Prenz is eighth. Felix only ninth. I get the feeling that's not quite good enough with all the other championship contenders in the top five. Paco Suarez with definitely his best qualifying session in a long time. In 10th place, Powdy is 11th, TB Sen 12th, Tim that's 13th. If you're talking about Ferrari and Red Bull's constructors battle, they're going to need more help from their teammates here, Morgan and Bryn. Marcus will start 14th, Tom AJ with an exceptionally slow lap in 15th, which I saw him crawling across the line with, and Bando Biz will start 16th and last. I believe he crashed out early on in qualifying. So that's how it goes for the race. Right now, Morgan is looking in a very strong position, but as we've seen so many times this season, a race doesn't always represent how qualifying went. One thing we can be sure of in Abu Dhabi is that rain is not going to be an issue like we've had at certain other races recently. But we know how fast Bryn and Jonis are, so I don't think Morgan will have this race all his own way. And of course, keep an eye out on Free Gloves and Felix to see how they get on from 5th and 9th respectively. So we are just lights out. Minutes away from lights out. Sorry for the start of this race. Apologies about it. I just had to mute my mic momentarily there. In terms of outside the top 10, we've got Marcus on softs, but everyone else starting on medium tyres. Of course, the top 10 locked into what they qualified on. And how will Morgan be feeling knowing that the championship is very unlikely to be won here, but he can put a huge marker down and put himself in a great position going into Japan next week. I don't think he could have asked for much more in qualifying to see his main rival down in 9th. But this is a long race and anything can happen. We all know championships can be won and lost in a moment. And we've got 28 laps in front of us here today. In terms of the tyres, the softs and mediums are probably what I'm expecting to see used here. The hard tyres are quite incredibly slow around this track, so I wouldn't expect to see much use of them. Maybe if anyone has damage on the first lap, they may go for a long hard tyre stint, but ultimately I suspect the softs and mediums will be the favoured tyre here. Probably a 2-stop for those inside the top 10, with maybe the option for a 1-stop for those outside the top 10 if they're brave enough. Although to be fair, the driver I would most back to do a 1-stop is starting 5th, so in Free Gloves after what he did at Mexico last week. So I highly doubt that we'll see many 1-stoppers, but you never know, and it's definitely worth it for somebody maybe like a Powdy or a Tim Mats outside the top 10 to maybe go for that 1-stop strategy. Cars are lining up on the grid. We're just moments away from lights out here once Bando Biz has put that AlphaTauri in its grid spot. will be all ready to go. But it looks like Marcus is going to be the last one to line up. And here we go then. It's that time. It's the penultimate round. And when the lights stop illuminating, let battle commence here in Abu Dhabi. It looks like a very even start from the top two. In fact, if anything, Bryn might just have a potential look up the inside going into turn one. They're super close. Running through the first corner, Morgan has to go wide. They've got a massive lead further behind. It looks like it's running very close there with a racing point leading them back. But it's Morgan and Bryn who lead us away. They've already got a massive advantage with Dimsky moving up to third and Game Freaker up to fourth. It's not been a good start at all for Jonas further behind, and it looks like Three Gloves has slotted into sixth. Felix is still battling away, might have made his way past Oogie up to ninth. Looks like a few drivers have maybe lost out of that start. Tom AJ's caught slightly behind, but the top two got away so well, and they've already pulled out a bit of a lead due to how much of an advantage they got at the start there. Bryn really wanted to take P1 off Morgan early on, but he couldn't quite manage it. He probably recognises that he has to attack this Ferrari driver now, or he may not have another chance later on. Bryn going to the outside line into turn 11. There's a bit more contact there. He's trying to edge it through. Oh, and he's nearly lost the rear end of the car. There's not that much room through that section of corners. And going into turn 14, Morgan maintains the advantage at the moment, but no doubt about it, Bryn was very much on the offensive there and looking to make up the position early doors, but Morgan holds on to it despite that immense amount of pressure. The other three championship contenders are currently 5th, 6th and 7th as it stands. Felix has made up a couple of spots. Jonas has lost a few spots. So for Morgan and Bryn at the moment, their focus will just be on each other and seeing what they can do. As Dimsky, nah, it's just ghosted. I was going to say a timing glitch there, unfortunately. Or fortunately, should I say, I didn't want Dimsky. I thought Dimsky might be in the pits for a split second there. But Morgan still leads them away. Just following on board now with TNR Jonas. Switch from Felix. It's all very calm at the moment, of course. No DRS in operation until lap 3. It is only lap 2 at the moment, contrary to what it says on the top left of your screen. And what can Bryn do? Once again, he's really wanting to try and get past Morgan early doors. As he's using more overtake, going down this second straight. Obviously no DRS in operation yet. I don't know why it's flashing at me. I'm guessing the glitch applies to that too. But Bryn really close behind the Ferrari, but there is no way through at the moment. And you can see, look at that, Dimsky's just been dropped so much at the moment, and that's going to be a real big concern to these guys here battling 5th, 6th and 7th, because they can see two of the championship contenders slipping away. Powdy has had an issue towards the back, it looks like. A real shame for Powdy, one of the medium tyre starters. Looks like he may have had a spin somewhere, probably around turns 11 and 12. Game Freaker looking like he wants to potentially make a move past Dimsky at some point soon, because he can probably see that at this stage of the race, Dimsky just doesn't have the pace to keep up with the top two. Tim Matz has had a decent start in the other Red Bull as well. He's leading the medium tyre charge. And if anything, there's a few gaps breaking off here. You've got 3rd down to 7th in a cube, and you've got gaps to Ugi and Prenz, who've kind of ended up slightly cut adrift here. Is Bryn going to be close enough? He's of course now got DRS operation, so he might have an opportunity into turn 11 if he can get this exit onto the second DRS straight correct. DRS wide open, Morgan trying to avoid a slipstream, but there's nothing he can do. Bryn's going to have the overspeed into the corner, and Morgan has no choice but to concede the lead of the race. So Bryn takes the lead ahead of Morgan, and to be honest with you, that move's been coming for a few laps. Bryn's been very much on the offensive since the get-go. I think he knows with him having a 12-point deficit to Morgan, if he's going to win this championship, he needs to beat Morgan here. But having said that, he's just got a 3-second time penalty. So to get a penalty this early on in proceedings is a real big blow to the Red Bull driver. He cannot afford to keep doing that. And Felix, continuing unfortunately where he left off last week, has already got a penalty as well. Of course, he had 12 seconds worth of penalties last week in Mexico. And already Felix has got a time penalty. And we know how much that cost him last week. He should have been second, but he lost out to Free Gloves by just a few tenths of a second because of those penalties. Morgan, as expected, able to stay within the second DRS of Bryn, so he will potentially be able to have a move back. But he's not quite close enough down this straight, but as we saw, if he can get the run down the second straight, he'll be comfortably able to take the lead back here. We saw that with Bryn earlier on, but look at that. Morgan, in fact, has used quite a bit of his ERS as well, so, and it doesn't look like he's had the best of exits through turn 9, so Morgan have to stay behind for now. What's happening further down? We've got a yellow flag in sector 2. Looks like Marcus has run into some difficulties. TB Sen's been in the pits as well. And we've got Game Freaker now with a penalty on the board as well too, so that's a few drivers in that little group of cars who've already got a penalty to their name. And what will be going through the minds of some of these guys, particularly Felix at the back of his train. He knows he needs to be closer to Morgan, but right now there's not much he can do. Stuck at the back of that DRS train. The only thing he can really try and do at the moment to sort of limit the damage, although I think I just saw in the background there, Dimsky had a real swapper on through the final turn. But Game Freak are not able to do anything with it on this occasion. So yellow flag sector 3, Marcus has already opted to retire. Paco Suarez is in the pits as well. And we've got a safety car. Now Marcus hasn't. Has Marcus gone into the pit wall, I wonder? I want to go on board here with TV Sen, because I'm pretty certain that Marcus here might have gone into the pit wall. Now, Game Freaker will sympathise if he has, because in FP on Tuesday, Game Freaker did exactly the same thing. Oh no, actually, no, that's completely different to what I expected. It looks like he's lost it. Maybe on the exit of turn 20. And maybe spat off into the opposite wall, but it's before he's even got to the pit wall where Marcus has gone off. So, and that has brought out a safety car, which is good news for those who were starting to get cut adrift from the top two. That balance has now been readdressed, and I wonder if those on soft tyres may come into the pits at the end of this lap. This is as good a time as any, you would imagine. A crew in the chat believing this will favour the soft tyre runners. Of course, it does give them a chance to just ditch the soft tyres that they're on and essentially just fall to the, well, not into the back of the pack, I suppose. They'll just fall a few positions down to those medium tyre runners that might stay out. Are we going to see them break off into the pit lane? Yes, we are. And the good thing is, for all these guys actually in the top 7, they all race for different teams. So there's not going to be any issues with queuing here. I'm just going to stay on board with Felix just to see if he manages to jump any positions with a pit lane bedlam. Let's have a look. Of course, this is where the pit crews earn their money. They get to work. Medium tyres will be going on all these guys, at the exception of Oogie, who pits for hards. Has there been any changes in positioning? Actually, it looks like it's all kind of as you were. Bryn has rejoined just behind his teammate, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem, because of course they'll probably work together, and I don't think Tim Matz will make it at all difficult for Bryn to get past. interestingly, the only two drivers who've stayed out there are Bando Biz and Tim Max right at the front. That's slightly intriguing in the fact that they will potentially be quite a thorn in the side here, and I do wonder if Tim Max here could be quite a thorn in the side to those behind Bryn. Because I guarantee he'll let Bryn through, but I don't think he'll be quite so kind to the Ferrari. Particularly with the Constructors' fight on his mind as well as a Drivers' Championship. So this is a good opportunity here for Red Bull to manipulate the race slightly in their favour. I of course expect from here that, particularly with the fact they're probably in a lap or two early from the soft tyres, the likelihood now is that there'll be two medium stints from a lot of these guys that have pitted under the safety car. Be two medium stints to the end. So that kind of removes any sort of strategy possibilities, unless of course we have another safety car later on, or maybe if you want to stretch out this first set of tyres, you can then maybe go for a soft stint at the end. But the likelihood is I expect it'll be medium from a lot of these guys now. And Bando Biz leads them away. I don't know if that was I don't know where that change in position occurred. I must have missed it unfortunately, because I remember earlier Tim Max was actually the leading medium tyre runner. So obviously at some point Bando Biz has made his way past him and now leads away. I don't really, to be honest, expect, of course, to those that have penalties, the likes of Bryn, Game Freaker and Felix, having everyone bunched up together doesn't exactly help them either. The last thing you want is to be bunched up when you have a penalty. But it is still early days yet, so expect the penalty situation to change as we go forward. I'd also expect that the safety car will come in at the end of this lap. Oogie, I wonder if Oogie and TB7 and Powdy may try and get to the end on their hard tyres. It's a possibility, but I don't really see that working too well for them, just purely because I mean, the estimated life of the hard tyres around here is about 21 laps. Now, that's touch and go as it is, but on average the hard tyres are 1.4 seconds a lap slower than the mediums. So they are so slow around here. I just don't see how the hard tyres can work for these guys. They're just going to be so slow. And that's a potentially blessing for Felix, who I don't think will come under much threat from Oogie at the restart, particularly as those hards will be very cold indeed. So getting them up to temperature will be a mission in itself, and it may be worth the Haas team doing an early swap, because I expect Tom to have a lot more pace than Oogie on those mediums. So safety car in this lap. Bando Biz now becomes the effective safety car in the AlphaTauri. Be interesting to see what happens between the Red Bulls. Like I said, I don't imagine Tim Max will try and hold Bryn up, but how they execute swapping will be interesting to see. And Bando Biz bunching out all the cars up then, as he gets ready to execute the perfect restart. Of course, he doesn't have to worry about any of that. He just has to try and get on with his own race, as Dimsky has got a 5-second penalty. And oh, look at that, Bando Biz has gone round. I don't believe that on the restart. Bando Biz has lost the rear end through turn 21 and is facing the wrong way. And I talked about getting a perfect restart. That's about as far from perfect as you could imagine, as look at that, Bryn's all over the back of his teammates, and you can already see him making his way past Tim Max. And now, and what's going to be interesting to see is if Tim Max can try and keep Morgan and the likes at bay, because for Red Bull's strategy to work here, and particularly Bryn's, it would do him a big favour if his teammate could now hold up Morgan behind. And you can see he's jammed full in overtake mode, so he's doing everything possible to not let Morgan through. And Morgan, I don't think, will be at all surprised to see this occur, but he'll have so much extra grip, I don't see how he'll be able to hold the Ferrari at bay for too long. Morgan looking for a move, but again Tim Matz goes defensive into turn 11. A small weave under braking. We've got Felix further down the field going side by side with free gloves, and there's been contact between the pair of them. And he has to slot in behind Felix, and this is doing neither of them any good whatsoever. Felix now trying to go right round the outside, which he manages. Free gloves has to slot in behind, and look at that, that's an opportunistic move from Oogie. Trying to make his way past free gloves as well, but he can't quite manage it. Let's go back with the battle for P2. Dimski's got a penalty, and he's also lost a position to Game Freaker, it looks like. Morgan's still behind Tim Matz, and you can already see Brinner's gained a 2-second advantage. So it's showing how much Tim Matz is really working to help the team out here. And of course, Morgan has a 5-second penalty as well for that collision under the safety car, and they both will have to serve that at their next stop. So disaster for Morgan as well on that one. Obviously Dimski making contact with the back of Morgan. I wonder if Dimski may have damage because of that. Bando Biz is out of a race, and it looks like he may have crashed out. It's a virtual safety car, and that's not what Morgan particularly needed either, because he looked like he was potentially about to make a move on the Red Bull driver for second, but obviously now he's unable to do so. So Morgan and Dimski will have penalties to serve when they come in for their second pit stops. That's really unfortunate for them too. It's just one of those things on this game, unfortunately. Slight contact under the safety car, and the game's very quick to dish out a 5-second penalty. And there's nothing, unfortunately, that can be done about it because it will be served under the pit stop. Obviously, if it was unable to be served at a pit stop, they could try and get it removed, but they don't have that option now, unfortunately. We're back underway there. Bryn now has a 3-second lead over Tim Matz. This is working beautifully for him. Of course, he does have a penalty, but so now does Morgan anyway. So Jonas really is looking in a pretty decent position here, because he's the only one that's around the front of the field. Obviously, Tim Matz excluding, that doesn't have a penalty at the moment. So it could work out in Jonas's favour, that one. And I'm just wondering, does Dimski have some damage? I'm going to try and see if I can catch the front of that Mercedes. It's difficult to say, there may be an end plate missing. It certainly looks like he's just struggling for a bit of pace at the moment, which suggests that he has picked up a bit of damage with that safety car contact. We'll have to wait and see on that one, particularly when he comes in to see if he has the front wing changed. Morgan is going for it now. Surely there's nothing Tim Matz can do to stop him. Tim Matz is going to come back down the inside, it looks like, but he's got nothing in which to do. Morgan doesn't have a particularly good exit though, so now Tim Matz has the DRS to come back at him. So that hasn't worked at all for Morgan, who's now about to lose a place, potentially to Game Freaker as well. What on earth is going on here into the corner? This is a shocking camera angle. Game Freaker now looking to take the advantage on both of them, and he does so. And Morgan now to defend from Dimski behind. Jonas looking for a way through as well. So Game Freaker finds his way up to second, and this is going awfully wrong for Morgan. I predicted the Red Bull of Tim Matz may have a big say in how Morgan's race unfolds. I don't think he'd be this much of a say. No way through still for Morgan. He can just see the frustrating thing is these guys are pulling away. Bryn's advantaged out to 3.7 seconds. Game Freaker's already pulling away from Tim Matz as well. It's just going to be an opportunity here for Morgan. He might have to get his elbows out here. Look how defensive Tim Matz goes. He's got to be careful though. Only one move allowed, and that looked potentially like a second move across. Debatable one on that one. On we go to a straight out of turn 7. Surely this time there's nothing Tim Matz can do. As long as Morgan gets it slowed down properly, he should be alright. And look at this, out of nowhere, here comes the Mercedes of Dimski. Is he going to try and make 2 places up? No, he's going to just trouble Tim Matz, and that will help Morgan out, because there's nothing that Tim Matz can now do to stop. Oh, and Dymski's gone into the wall! I don't believe it! On the exit of turn 9, Dymski lost the rear end of a car. It looks like he got the hard work done in clearing the Red Bull, and now he's gone smashing into the wall on the exit. He's a bit lucky in a way, but that didn't destroy his car, but he's definitely going to have to pit for damage. Jonas has made his way past Tim Mats as well. Felix is going to try and do the same. What dramatic moments in this race. And that's good news for the likes of Jonas, Felix and Free Gloves to now have one less car between them and their championship rivals. Let's go with Felix and Free Gloves the next to try and get past this Red Bull that really has been a thorn in the side for a few of these drivers so far tonight. Brings advantage now up to over 4 seconds. So he's absolutely controlling things at the front. It's worked out beautifully thanks to his teammate for him. And Morgan will now, I expect, try and pressurise Game Freaker and get P2. Felix gets a decent exit out of the hairpin. Surely this is a good opportunity for the Williams driver to take P5 on the road. Yes, it is. And there's nothing which Tim Mats can defend with. Free Gloves will be next, and of course if Free Gloves can get past as well, we'll have all 5 championship contenders in the top 6 as Free Gloves goes around the outside. Both of them have DRS, but Tim Mats has used so much of his ERS to try and defend. I don't think there's anything really much he can do. Free Gloves has the position up to 6th place. Tim Mats has a penalty to boot. And one thing that's worth noting, Jonas and Free Gloves don't have penalties at the moment. We saw this in Mexico. But Free Gloves' ability to not collect penalties was really key in him getting that P2 along with this one-stop strategy. So I don't expect to see many, if any, penalties for Free Gloves, and that could potentially have a huge bearing on where he finishes. Back with this battle then, a P2 as expected. Morgan's right in the back of Game Freaker, and Jonas is pretty close in terms of company as well, so opportunity here for Morgan to get P2, but you can see the damage it's done. He was right with Bryn. He's now almost 6 seconds behind him, so that has given Bryn a superb opportunity to go on and win this Grand Prix. Tim Mats talking in the build-up about how crucial the Constructors' battle is as Morgan goes up the inside of Game Freaker into turn 8. Game Freaker will look for the cutback. He's got to be careful he doesn't leave himself vulnerable to the car behind, but Game Freaker will now have DRS himself. The advantage of having 2 different detection points is becoming apparent as Game Freaker goes for the move back on Morgan. Morgan slotting it down the inside. There's a bit of contact between the pair of them, and Game Freaker holds on to the place for now, and there's nothing which Morgan can do, and this is going to allow the likes of Felix and Free Gloves to catch up as well. Of course, this is all for position. No need for Game Freaker to move out of the way or anything like that. And this is superb racing between them, but it is doing Morgan no favours whatsoever. He really is not having the rubber to green this race with cars, as Jonas has a huge slide out of turn 19. Might just hold on to it luckily, but you can see the way that Felix and Free Gloves are starting to come out this group of cars now. Bryn's advantage at the front up to 6 seconds. He's just doing his own thing up front now. He's got very much everything under control, and he's looking in a strong position now to potentially take his 4th win in 5 and keep his championship hopes very much alive going to Suzuka next Sunday. And this could be an opportunity again for Morgan, but of course you remember from last time that the Game Freaker will just potentially go for the move back into turn 11 should Morgan get done into turn 8. Here we go then up the inside once again. And how will Morgan position his car this time? Will he be a bit more mindful? Oh, it looks like Game Freaker got hit. There was contact there between Game Freak and Jonas. Game Freak has a penalty. I think there was contact there between the pair of them. As Jonas went for the move. To try and get back. You can see there's front wing missing on the racing point, and that could be Jonas' title bid over as Felix goes right round the outside, and Jonas is clearly struggling. And have we just seen the reigning F7 champions' hopes going up in smoke? I think we have, you know. Game Freak going for the cutback on the Ferrari, and Jonas obviously caught out, goes into the back of a Renault driver. And the reigning F7 champion was already 19 points behind coming into this one. He's surely going to see his championship hopes all but extinguish here. After that contact, he'll be coming into the pits, I suspect. The only good thing for him is he can take another set of mediums now to the end, but I think effectively his chances of a result he needed to keep his hopes alive are pretty much gone now. So, and then there were four, you could say, and all four of them are in the top 5 positions. Game Freaker is the odd one out in third. He's just racing essentially for pride, but he has had a good couple of races recently and has recaptured some of the form that put him into championship contention at the end of season 26 in F7. Let's not forget, one of Jonas's main championship rivals last season was Game Freaker. So Game Freaker's got the pedigree, got the pace to be up in these positions. Let's take a moment to breathe after everything we've seen. Felix is now over the back of Game Freaker for third. So look in terms of penalties, 6 seconds for Game Freaker, that's quite costly. Obviously Morgan's got up 5 seconds to serve. Dimski's served his 5-second penalty now, but he's way down at the back after that spin. Bryn and Felix have 3 seconds each, and as ever, 3 gloves with no penalties. He's very much played himself into contention here for another great result. And Felix pits. Felix goes in for an early stop, maybe looking for the undercut on Game Freaker. Felix taking a bit of a chance here and coming into the pits for another set of medium tyres. And of course, yeah, another set of mediums goes on, no damage on the front wing or anything like that. Of course, with Jonas having to pit for front wing damage, he should comfortably rejoin in front of him. Will he be in front of Tim Mats? I highly doubt it. No, he'll be behind Tim Mats, but Tim Mats on soft tyres. I've got to be honest, he's going to struggle to get to the end on those. So I don't think that'll be too much of an issue for Felix. He's come out just behind Tim Mats, but you'd hope at least with the soft tyres on that Tim Mats should have the pace to not hold him up too much, although who knows, that could be a strategy as Dimski becomes our 3rd retirement of the race. It's a double DNF for Mercedes, and it was really unfortunate for Dimski just losing the back end of the car while embroiled in the battle as Felix moves up the inside of Tim Mats. Tim Mats going for a move back, but nothing he can do. So Felix takes the position unless Tim Mats can have an opportunity down this next straight, but just look at the traction advantage that Felix has. Felix has such traction advantage. We've got a yellow flag. Oh, it's just the rejoining car as Tim Mats very nearly went into the back of Felix and had to take avoiding action. Thankfully, no harm done there, but that was a scary moment. I'm sure Felix would have been a bit scared there, or he would have seen the red marker flash behind him. We've got Morgan in the pits now as well for another set of medium tyres. He should rejoin just in front of Felix. But of course he had to serve his 5-second penalty, so no, he won't rejoin in front of Felix. So is he going to rejoin in front of Jonas? That would be the next question I would ask myself. If Jonas can get ahead of Morgan here, this could cause no end of problems for the Ferrari driver, but I think Morgan might just have this one, you know. Yeah, Morgan is in front by about 1.5 seconds, so that's crucial for Morgan that he rejoins in front of Jonas. But of course, serving that 5-second penalty has meant that he has dropped behind Felix by a considerable margin as well. So, but we know Morgan is super quick around this track. So, of course, with the fact that he doesn't have any corner cutting penalties, the opportunity is still there for Morgan to beat his main championship rival, of course. If you need reminding, Morgan on 83 points, Felix on 81 coming into this, and Bryn, who looks like he's going to collect the full 16, on 71. Don't forget free gloves though as well, no penalties for him, and he's just doing a very solid job at the moment. If he pits this lap, which it would make a lot of sense to, I've got a feeling, I tell you what, I would just wonder, Free Gloves did this last week in Mexico. He did a super long medium tyre stint to the end of a race. He's not going to do it again, is he? Because I've got to be honest, what would he think? You look at 21 laps on the set of tyres. Mediums estimated to last 17. The only thing I can think is either he's A, going to the end, or B, he's going to try and run a soft tyre stint at the end of a race. But with Free Gloves, you just never know. He ran the medium tyres at Mexico for a ridiculous amount of time. Surely he's not about to do it again. I tell you what, if he keeps his championship alive this way, it's fair play to him. Felix has made his way past Powdy. I wonder if Free Gloves is about to make a move on Game Freaker. He's not using overtake. But of course he'll have the DRS available to him. Is he going for it? No, he's got no intention of passing. I tell you what, I've got a feeling here Free Gloves is about to repeat his trick from Mexico last week. And I tell you what, if he pulls it off, fair play. Bryn's still out there. He doesn't need to pit to cover off anyone. He's got such an advantage. He can just do his own thing. Really at front. Game Freaker, what will Game Freaker do? Will he potentially think about going to the end? I'd be very surprised if he did. But both of them stay out once again, so this is an intriguing point in the race, and I just wonder what are the strategists at Renault and Alfa Romeo thinking. We got a problem. In fact, it's Tom A. No, it's not Tom AJ. Who is that? Is that? Try and find out who the Alpha. We've got a virtual safety car out there. It's perfect timing for Tom AJ to pit. Try and find out the reason for the virtual. I'm not too sure on that one. I'm still fine with that. I thought briefly it was a Red Bull that I saw off the track, but whatever reason it was, it's now back to green flag conditions. And Bryn still leads the way. And Felix is going to look to try and take advantage of this restart and make his way past TB Sent into turn 8. Ferrari obviously on very old hard tyres. I don't really think there's all too much point in TB Sent fighting that one. The hard tyres just haven't really got much pace to them. Further down we've got Tim Mats, Powdy and Morgan. Jonas all close together on track. What's going on here then? Morgan down the inside, then he's going to try and take them both, and he has done. Really nicely done there. Tim Mats is going to try and take advantage as well. Into turn 14 they go. Jonas is looking down the inside too. Oh, and Jonas nearly loses the car. Bit of contact between him and the Alfa Romeo. What's going to go on through here? Round the outside he goes, and Jonas does take the position. Bryn is pitting for softs. So Bryn pitting for soft tyres, and what's going to happen here? Bryn will rejoin comfortably in the lead, and of course with soft tyres on he can very much try and get fastest lap here. He rejoins just behind, well in between Paco, Suarez and Prenz. I've got to say, this is definitely Paco's best performance of the season so far. Still yet to score any points as he... Oh, and look at that, Bryn going for an opportunistic dive at turn 7. Don't often see many overtakes there. But he gets it done, Bryn, and with the advantage of DRS and the soft tyres, he'll be absolutely gone before there's any opportunity Paco to fight back, so everything going Bryn's way. He's only 6 seconds behind the leading pair, who I've got a feeling are going to try and stay this out to the end. So, I tell you what, out of nowhere here, Felix and Morgan are staring at losing some pretty significant points here to the likes of Bryn and Free Gloves, and this would really make it potentially a 4-way championship fight to Japan, which would be absolutely incredible. The thing is though, if Free Gloves and Game Freak are going to the end, surely Free Gloves does need to try and make a move. I mean, I know Game Freak has no penalty, but you just get the sense that Free Gloves is a little bit quicker at this stage of the race. What are they doing here? Game Freak pits. Right, so Game Freak's pitting, so he's not going to the end. Free Gloves though, this is a cork in the ball here. Is Free Gloves going to the end on these medium tyres? Is he repeating his trick from Mexico a week ago? I can't believe this. He's going to lose the lead to Bryn, no doubt about it, but in terms of holding off some of the guys behind him, this is a really good opportunity for him. They're so far behind, I don't see a way that they can really come back at him in these remaining laps. We've still got 8 laps to go, of course. We've got a yellow flag set to what was happening here. Looks like it's a problem for Prenz, is it? Yeah, Prenz has lost his front wing. Prenz has lost his front wing. He's on medium tyres, he's been on for 14 laps. We've got a virtual safety car once again. I tell you what, these virtual safety car periods are absolutely just helping Free Gloves eke those tyres out that little bit more. I don't think he'll mind seeing his virtual safety cars. Obviously a full safety car will be disastrous for him, although he could potentially then just pit anyway. But a virtual safety car plays right into Free Gloves' hands. Prenz will have to return to the pits on that one. Paco surely is going to have to stop. He's got one extra lap than Free Gloves has on mediums, and I'm not sure he has the same tyre saving capabilities. Although I'll leave that for him to prove me wrong on that one. We've got Felix here just behind Oogie. Oogie, of course, on 14 lap old hards. It's very likely he's going to the end, but there's no pace on those tyres. We've got a yellow flag. I think that's... I want to say that's an Alpha tyre. That's Prenz, who's retired from the race. He hasn't even got to the pit lane, so I don't know what's happening there. Hopefully that's no safety car or anything. I don't know if he's retired out on track. I think he might have done, which I don't think he meant to do, but there we go. Felix then, with an opportunity here to get past Oogie. I don't think this will be too difficult. The hard tyres, as mentioned a few times already, are significantly slower than the mediums, so I don't think Oogie will have much defence here against Felix, and Felix knows once he gets to the straight he can blast past. But of course, all this is helping Morgan. Morgan's only a second behind Felix now, so this is doing no good at all for Felix. He needs to be getting on with this. He's going to get past Oogie here, down the straight. And oh, I tell you what, I'm wondering if, because we saw earlier on in the race, the Red Bulls work superbly together. We saw Tim Mats hold up the others to really help Bryn's race out. I wonder if Paco is staying out for the exact same reason. Is he going to stay out to try and impact the other drivers' races behind Felix? It's a definite possibility. But of course, in 16 lap mediums, how much defence is he really going to have? Bryn is already back into the lead of the race. Free Gloves on those old tyres has no real effort to stop Bryn, but his focus really will be trying to keep this P2, which is definitely possible. I suspect that Felix is going to have an easy time getting past his teammate, but will it be quite so easy for Morgan? Is Morgan about to be screwed over by another driver's teammate? It's a definite possibility that that could happen here. Morgan has firstly got to get past Oogie, who is currently just behind. I'm going to follow that one because that's potentially going to be a more difficult pass than it is going to be for Felix. Morgan's had to deal with a lot in this race. Of course, he had to serve a 5-second penalty under the safety car. Oh, sorry, not under the safety car. 5-second penalty for colliding under the safety car. which had to serve at his second stop. Felix has already passed Paco, and actually Morgan will do the same to Ugi. But what's going to be interesting now is how much defence is Paco going to put up to keep Morgan behind him. Paco will be the first to admit he hasn't really contributed to Williams' effort this season. So I can't help wondering if this is going to be his attempt to get himself back in Williams' good books. Is he going to try and help Felix's title bid? One good thing for Paco is Morgan's catching him up through his final sector, where it's pretty much single file anyway. Look at the amount of time Free Gloves is losing to Bryn. Bryn's absolutely cruising this once again. 4 wins from 5. It definitely looks like Paco's got no grip at all, but Morgan's got nowhere to go with it through turn 20. He's just stuck behind this Williams. But surely when we get to the main straight at turn 8, or the back straight at turn 8, he's going to have no option but to come to the pressure from the Ferrari. Look at that, Paco's struggling to keep the throttle down. Look at how little grip he has. Paco's just parking it in all the right places. He's definitely not wanting to let this Ferrari past, but surely he's going to have no option here. How much ERS has he saved? He's got a lot, and he's firmly in overtake, but with the DRS I don't think Paco can really do much. He's gone to the outside, he's trying to fight this off. He's giving Morgan as hard of a time as he possibly can. Oh, but eventually he has to back out. Morgan was not prepared to give him the space that he needed there, and in the end Paco has to submit. So he will have lost a few seconds there, Morgan, but ultimately he has got past. Because Ugi now tries to follow him through. Ugi, of course, they're on similarly aged tyres, but his hard tyres will be in much better shape than the mediums. And of course Game Freaker and John is joining in now. Free Gloves has picked up a penalty. That is a rarity, and that's a big thing to note as well, because with Felix closing in, they're now essentially both on 3 seconds worth of penalties each, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, they are. And that 3-second time penalty could very well prevent Free Gloves finishing ahead of Felix and Morgan. But of course, will Morgan be able to avoid a penalty? That's the other thing to note. Jonas' title bid is over. That unfortunate front wing damage he got behind Game Freaker has ultimately proved costly. Look at this, almost going 3 wide there. Up to turn 5. Paco in his desperate attempts to hold on to 5th place and score his first points of the season. Surely this is going to be interesting now down the straight up towards turn 8. Who's going to be latest on the brakes? Ugi looks like he's got the 5th place done. Game Freak is looking to follow suit. Bit of contact between the Renault and the Williams, but it looks like Game Freak has got it sorted, and he'll now probably have a good look at Ugi down this second straight as well. Ugi has no DRS. Game Freaker not really closing in even with DRS, but he's going to go down the inside into turn 11. Oh, there's contact between the pair, and he loses the back end of the car. Jonas has made his way past Paco as well. I don't see how Paco can really keep those tyres going to the end, but he's desperate to try and get some points. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2. Not quite sure what that's all about. Jonas has now gone past Ugi, who's run wide. So Ugi may be struggling a bit on his tyres as well. The hards don't last that much longer than the mediums, surprisingly, despite the pace deficit. So Paco and Ugi battling their way down to turn 20, and Paco actually gets the jump. So Jonas up to 6th, Game Freak up to 5th. And I can't help feeling that Free Gloves' strategy is not going to work as well as it did in Mexico, because Felix is closing him down so quickly. And of course now with equal amount of penalties, all Felix needs to do is get past. And Morgan, all he'll need to do is be within 3 seconds of Free Gloves, providing he doesn't pick up any penalties. And I believe as well, if Morgan does finish ahead of Free Gloves, I think that effectively ends Free Gloves' title hopes. I could be wrong on that one though, but I'll try and do some quick maths at the end of it once we know the confirmed results, just so I can let you know what the championship picture will be looking like going to Japan, of course pending any stewards' inquiries. This is a sector, of course, where they're really going to gain on Free Gloves, this technical final sector, where traction is so important, and it's very unlikely his tyres will be giving him much of that at this stage of the race. One thing I think I can say with confidence is that TNR Jonas will not be defending his title this season, and we will be down to, at the most, 4 contenders for a championship going to Japan, although Free Gloves' hopes look to be hanging by a thread as well, so it could very well be down to 3 contenders going to Japan, but nevertheless it's still a super close title race. Bryn is 14 seconds in the lead, he's absolutely cruising now. And it looks like, despite Free Gloves' best efforts, those tyres are just not giving him the grip he needs. And Felix and Morgan will finish ahead of him. The one thing that might... Well, Game Freak has got a few penalties, so that may save Free Gloves 4th place, but I'm not sure that's going to be enough. Who's got fastest lap at the moment? I suspect it's going to be Bryn. Yeah, it's Bryn, and I don't think that's going to change. The only person who I think would pit in to try and change that would probably be his teammate, but I don't see why that would make any sense for Tim Mats to try and take away his teammate's fastest lap. Tom AJ, who's passed TB Sen for the final points paying position, oh sorry, 9th place rather. So TB Sen is on course to pick up a point here for Ferrari, and that point could be crucial against Red Bull. Tim Mats really needed to do more tonight to take that championship constructors fight to Ferrari. It will still very much be on going to Japan, but he's going to need to do more, Tim Mats. Look at this, going into the final lap. Felix is right behind Morgan. It's looking like Morgan's going to take 2nd place ahead of Felix here, and that is big news in terms of the championship. It doesn't really help Bryn either. All Morgan has to do is avoid a penalty on the last lap, and if he does get a penalty on this final lap, he really will be kicking himself. But surely Free Gloves here can't do anything. Free Gloves will be kicking himself because he knows if he hadn't picked up a penalty, he probably would have beaten Felix here. But still, I have to say for Free Gloves, it's a great effort on the medium tyres. It just hasn't worked out to the same extent as it did last week in Mexico. But here goes Felix now for P2. Simple move. Free Gloves doesn't really have much of a defence. And well, Morgan doesn't really need to follow him through, to be honest. He can just do his own thing with his lack of penalties. Felix is absolutely gone. He will take what looks like P3 behind Morgan, which isn't going to do his any good. He'll now be 4 points behind Morgan going into the finale. But let's give Bryn some airtime. We haven't really seen much of him lately, but here he goes round the final couple of corners, turn 20 and turn 21 for the final time. It's his 4th win in 5 races for Bryn, and he keeps his title bid going to Japan. Bryn wins, dominates here in Abu Dhabi, and he will make sure that it is a 3-car battle for the championship next week in Japan. Felix will cross the line 2nd on the road, but it will be Morgan who takes a crucial 2nd place. And that will mean that Morgan is the championship leader going to Japan. Felix in 3rd, Free Gloves in 4th, Game Freaker in 5th, but I think Jonas will pick that up due to penalties. Yes, he will. Jonas collects 5th, although Game Freaker might appeal one of those penalties due to the fact that he was forced off the track. TB Sen actually is going to pick up, or he's going to stay 10th. Paco picks up his 1st points of the season in 9th. Fair play to him, definitely his best drive of the season to do 23 laps on medium tyres. We talk about Free Gloves a stint, but I'm not quite sure how Paco managed that stint either. I'm going to take Luke's maths for this one as gospel for this one, by the way. So if the maths is wrong, it's not my fault. sorry, Luke. But I actually think that's spot on, actually. So yeah, going into the finale, we are down from 5-3 championship contenders. TNR Jonas can no longer win it. Neither can Free Gloves, I don't think. Might correct me on that one. So Free Gloves would be on 68 with 4th place. Yeah, he's no longer involved. So Free Gloves is out of contention now. So we've lost Jonas and Free Gloves. So the 3 championship contenders going into Japan. We've got Morgan on 95 points, Felix on 91, and Bryn on 88. Just 7 points separating the top 3 going to Japan. And we know that Japan usually brings us a very dramatic final round. In terms of the Constructors, Red Bull are the new Constructors Championship leaders. They held a 2-point advantage over Ferrari, so that battle's very much still alive as well. Here's the full results then. Further behind, we've got Ugi Azim and Tom AJ collecting some decent points for Haas in 7th and 8th. As I mentioned, Paco in 9th, TB Sen in 10th, with Tim Mats in 11th. Not doing much good for Red Bull's Constructors' hopes, but Bryn's points haul is enough to jump them to the front. Bryn, of course, with a win and the fastest lap. 7 points between the top 3. Now, I've got to be honest, it's anyone's guess. Morgan is clearly a super fast driver. Felix has been really consistent all season. That's his 7th podium in 8th podium in 9 starts for Felix this season. That just shows how consistent he's been. And then you've got Bryn, the form horse, as the sort of a dark horse for the championship. 7 points adrift, but he's won 4 of the last 5 races. So this is really going to be anyone's guess as to who's going to win, well, either championship, to be honest. And it's going to go to Japan next week. I cannot wait for that. That's going to be an absolutely thrilling race. In terms of my driver of the day for tonight's race, I can't look past Bryn, to be honest. I gave it for Free Gloves last week for his incredible medium tyre stint at Mexico doing a one-stop strategy. But tonight Bryn was just dominant. He was in another class. Fair play to Tim Mats. He definitely helped out his teammate after that safety car restart. But even with that, Bryn just had so much pace tonight. He was unstoppable. Win and the fastest lap. And I said before, I was thinking before the race, will Bryn be able to compose himself now he's in championship contention? Will he be able to continue that great form? And he really did. And there showed no signs of crumbling under the pressure. He takes maximum points here tonight at Abu Dhabi. We're going to have a dramatic freeway title shootout next week in Japan. I cannot wait. A quick mention to Paco. I nearly gave him driver of the day. His first points of the season in 9th and a 23 lap medium tyre stint. Fair play to him there. But yeah, Bryn gets my driver of the day for tonight. That's pretty much it from me. I really hope you enjoyed it. Massive thank you to everyone in the comments. The chat was super busy tonight, which was great to see for the top Sunday tier. So massive thank you to those who I saw in the chat, the likes of Luke, McCrew, Midnight, Ginger. There was a few others as well. If I've forgotten your name, I do apologise. But yeah, massive thank you to everyone who tuned in. Really enjoyed that tonight. I hope to see you next week in Suzuka, where we'll be crowning the F7 champion. But from me, it's good night, and I'll catch you on the flip side.